Good morning and welcome to another Maths with Miss Live. I missed you guys last week when I couldn't do them live and I was recording them in advance. So I need to start with an apology because when I played back Fridays, I don't know what happened with the uploads, but the quality was absolutely terrible. So please forgive me, you could not see my explanations on the board. So I'm going to go through them again today, so hopefully it will be much clearer and you'll be able to see what's going on. But I was back in school last week teaching the year 10s, and it was fantastic to be back in a classroom and teaching, but I did miss you guys. So I'm back this week. There's one day when I probably can't do it because again I'll be teaching, but other than that I will be here live every day. So just as a quick reminder, and particularly for anybody who is new, we need 2 pens. So we've got a different colour for marking. If possible, a little notebook, maybe your maths book from school if you brought it home, even better because then it will have some squared paper hopefully. A ruler if you've got one, so you can set your work out really neatly, draw a margin so you're numbering your questions as you go through. You do not need a calculator. We don't need one of those. Not on any of the lessons. We don't need a calculator, okay? And the reason why we don't need our calculator at the moment, as many of you will know and you've heard me say before, because we've got our fabulous brains. We are working our brains this morning. So I just need your focus, your attention for half an hour every weekday from 10 o'clock to 10:30. So we can get those brains working so that when we go back to school in September, we can remember some of those key facts when it comes to maths. So many of you now know this, but we have a 10 by 10 grid and we tick off the questions for the first 30 questions as we go through. We've only got, I think, a couple of days to go before we fill our board. If you're new to this, don't worry. In a couple of days, I'll get you to draw up a new grid ready for the next set of numbers. Okay, let's get started. We have 30 questions. They are blocks of 10 questions. You have approximately 2 minutes per block of 10 questions. And then the last question is a little bit more challenging. It's a parents versus kids challenge to see if you can beat your parents. Okay, the questions are coming up in 1 second. And you've got 30 seconds to go. Part 2 coming up. Seconds to go. Okay, part 3. Seconds to go. Okay, right, we're going to start, before we answer those, We're going to rewind to last Friday to the review questions at the end. I'm just going to pop up the answers for those now. We'll go through those quickly, and then remember, I'm going to do some full explanations on the board, particularly those questions that you couldn't see on Friday. Okay. So we have question 1. The first 5 multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45, 60 and 75. Remember, these are last week's questions. Don't worry if you weren't on last week and you didn't do them. Question 2, the answer is 14 centimeters. Question 3 is 6 liters. And question 4, length A is 100 centimeters, B is 70 centimeters, and C is 60 centimeters. Okay, let's move on to the questions from this morning. We're going to run through these answers now. Okay, question 1, 64 and 81. Question 2 is 55. Question 3 is 84. Question 4 is 94. Question 5 is 4. Question 6 is 1/6. Question 7 is 1. And the Parents versus Kids challenge. It's a bit of a GCSE teaser. It's worth 3 marks. And the answer to that is 1/12. Okay, moving on to part 2. We have question 1, 66, question 2, 5, question 3, 107, question 4, 74, question 5 is 56, question 6 is 38, question 7 is 49, question 8 is 6, question 9 is 6, and again that Parents versus Kids challenge, another SAT special, is 2 liters. Okay, part 3. First 5 multiples of 20. We're counting up in our 20 times table. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. The cube root, that funny little squiggle and the 3 means cube root of 216 is 6. Question 3 is 61. Question 4 is 85. Question 5 is 7. I will also accept -7. Question 6 is 62. Question 7 is 9. And the final question worth 3 marks, another SAT special, the Parents versus Kids challenge. The area of the square is 36 centimeters squared. Okay, let's see if we can cross off some more numbers on our board. This round. Okay, so back to part 1. Let's see. So 64 has gone. 81 we can do. Right, question 2 of part 1, the answer was 55. Question 3, the answer was 84. Question 4 was 94. Okay, and that's all from that sheet. Let's look at part 2. We have 66 for question 1. Anything else on this? Question 4 was 74, that's gone. Question 5, 56, also gone. All right, 38, brilliant. That was the answer to question 6. 49 has gone. Okay. Right, let's just do part 3. I did it on the wrong number, apologies. Okay, thank you, James, for fixing that for me. All right, so any other questions that we need to cover up? 61, that was the answer to question 3 on part 3. And anything else? 85 is the answer to question 4. on part 3. And 62 is the answer to question 6 on part 3. I think we're done. Wow, we're nearly done, aren't we? We've only got 10 more to do tomorrow, and then we'll have finished our board and we can start again. Okay, let's get going with some explanations on those tricky parent versus kid challenge questions. Right, hopefully you can see the board today. That was a bit frustrating on Friday. And once again, my apologies that for some reason it didn't upload properly. So I'm going to go through the questions that we did. And I've got a couple more as well. So we might take a little bit longer than normal, a little bit longer. Okay, but that's all right. So let's get started with the bar modelling question. This was the really tricky question that was originally sent in by Jake in year 5 asking for some help. Okay, now I've got to tell you, for a year 5 question, this is truly, truly tough. I've got some year 10s who would struggle with this question, but let's take a look at it and see if we can work it out together. So we've got a plank of wood, okay, that is 3.4 meters long. So let's just write down the information we've got first. 3.4 meters, that's the length of our plank of wood. And we're told that A is 30 centimeters longer than B. So I'm going to draw A here. I don't know how long it is. I'm just going to draw a bar. Doesn't matter the size of my bar. My bar just represents a length that we don't know what it is yet. But A is 30 centimeters longer than B. So I know that that bit is 30 centimeters. I don't know what this is. So I'm going to use a letter. I'm going to use X. But it doesn't really matter. I think when I did it on Friday, I used B. Okay, now I'm going to look at B. Okay, B is just X because A is 30 centimeters longer than B. Okay, and then finally, when I look at C, C is a bit tricky to draw. I've got to make sure I draw it carefully because C is actually smaller than B, but we don't know what it is. It's something like that. And then we've got, it's shorter, it's smaller than B, and it's smaller by 500 millimeters. Now, this is where we need to remember our units, our conversion between centimeters and millimeters. This is in centimeters, so I want this to be in centimeters. Now, 500 millimeters is the same as 50 centimeters. And this whole box here, yeah, same as the size B, is the whole bit. All of that there is X. So the length of C is X, subtract 50 centimeters. So now we're going to write this out. We've converted this and this into centimeters, okay? Good work. So A is X plus 30. B is just X, and C is all of X subtracting 50. So it's all of X, but we're taking away 50. And those 3 planks of wood all together equal our 3.4 meters. This is in meters. These are in centimeters. I've got one more conversion to do. I've got to change this into centimeters. So I'm going to multiply that by 100 because I know that there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So 340. So these 3 things here, when I add all those 3 together, I'm going to get 340. Now, this is a really, really tough question. Certainly for a year 5, even as I said, even some of my year 10s would struggle with this. So now we form and solve an equation. So let's have a look. I've got 3 x's here. So I'm going to write down 3x. And then I've got to add 30. And then I've got to subtract 50. And that is going to equal 340. Now I need to do a little bit of rearranging so that these numbers are over here. So I know that 30 subtract 50 is negative 20. So I could write 3x subtract 20 equals 340. Now, if I add 20 to both sides, I'm going to get 3x on its own here, and I'm going to get 360. So let's just remind you what we've done here. We've added on 20 there. We've added on 20 there. Can you still see? Good. We've got 3x equals 360. Final step. We need to divide. We've got 3x. I don't want to know what 3x is. I want to know what just one x is. Can you see me down there? So I've got x equals 120. Hopefully you can read that right at the bottom there. Now, we're still not finished. Still not finished. That's why this was such a massive question. We now need to go all the way back up to the top. Let's just get rid of this little bit here. We know that A, was x plus 30. X was 120. So that equals 120 plus 30 gives me my 150 centimeters. Okay, x is just x, so that is my 120 centimeters. And finally, x subtract 50, 120. This is called substitution. When you substitute a letter, x, for the number 120. So 120, we're subtracting 50, gives us, and we're done. And we're probably a little bit exhausted. I certainly am. Okay, so a tricky question. Take your time, break it down, draw a model, label it, use a little bit of algebra. It's going to take us time, but we can slowly get to the correct answer. And that was a 5-mark question. Yeah, massive question. All right, well done. And thank you for your focus on that, because I know that was tricky. All right, let's move on. Again, these are going over the ones that didn't record properly on Friday. So question 2 was about the machine pouring juice. Okay, so we've got a machine that is pouring 250 millilitres of juice every 4 seconds. Okay, but actually, if I look at the question you did today, maybe rather than the one you did on Friday, should we do that? So the question that you did today, this is question 10 in part 2. This time, instead of 250 millilitres, it was 100 millilitres. And it was every 3 seconds. Okay, so you wanted to know how many litres of juice in 1 minute. So the first thing we need to do is convert minutes and seconds, yeah? Okay, so how many seconds are in a minute? 60. So we know instead of writing 1 minute, I'm going to write 60 seconds. So my units now are the same here. Okay, so I've got a choice now. I could look at what I need to do to get from 3 to 60. Some might say, well, that's easy. I can just multiply by 20. It's not always easy to see it. So sometimes it's good to just break it down a little bit. We could work out 1 second and then go up to 60. But I want to make it as easy as possible. It's a Monday morning. My brain's maybe still a little bit tired. Let's make maths easy if we can. So I'm going to say, well, hang on. I know that if I multiply by 10, I'm going to get 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 10. That's going to give me 1,000 millilitres every 30 seconds. And now it's fairly straightforward to just double this, multiply it by 2. So 2,000 millilitres. Whoops, every 6 bit wonky, but there you go. 2,000 millilitres every 60 seconds. Have I finished? Can I stop? Move on to the next question. Let's read the question and check. The question asks us to calculate this, but to give our answer in litres. So we've got that one last conversion to do. There are 1,000 millilitres in a litre. So therefore my answer will be 2 litres. 2,000 divided by 1,000 gives me 2 litres. Okay, let's move on to question 3, the third question. Okay, this was that tricky question with the hexagon and the square. Again, let's make some room on the board. Okay, give me a moment to draw those up. Here's my hexagon. Now, obviously, I'm not going to draw it very accurately. A regular hexagon, regular means that all the side lengths are the same length and all the angles are the same. That's what the word regular means. And a square by definition is regular because all its side lengths are the same and all its angles are the same. Okay, so we are told that we have the same perimeter between these two shapes. So if the perimeter is 48, I know that each of my side lengths is 8. My perimeter is therefore, remember, perimeter is a length, so the unit is centimetres. Okay, now these two shapes have the same perimeter. So that means that this perimeter is also 48. I have got 4 sides to my square, so I've got 48 divided by 4 gives me 12 centimetres. So I now know that the side length of my square is 12. Now, if this was a test and you had your test paper in front of you, use it, draw on it, label your diagrams. It really, really helps. So we've now got the side length of our square. We are almost there. Again, it feels like we've done loads and loads of work, but we haven't finished. We still need to calculate the area of the square. So the perimeter is the distance around the edges, but the area is what happens when I multiply 2 side lengths together. So the area is 12 multiplied by 12. It gives us 144 centimetres squared. Okay, so a tough question. We've still got 2 more. I did say we were going to overrun today because I needed to recap from Friday. So we've got 2 more. Hopefully they'll be fairly quick. All right, and hopefully you can see my screen today. Again, if you haven't had a chance to copy it down, watch the video back, pause it, and then you can take down the details that you need. 2 more to go. A tricky little question on negative numbers is coming up. It is right. So again, you had one of these on Friday, and I changed the numbers for today. Here is my number line. The numbers that you had today were -9 and -2. I can put a 0 here. I could put some numbers up here if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter. This is the bit that I'm interested in, between -9 and -2. You draw a number line and it's really easy to visualize what the solution is. Okay, now I've just got a message from Aaliyah to say that she hates negatives. Aaliyah, you are not alone. You are not alone. They are really, really hard. They're hard for you guys to do. They're hard for us to teach. That's why I'm drawing this number line for you. Okay, I'm going to bring it a bit closer so you can see. -9 and -2. Can you see the difference? You could count it out, all right? And you could even -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. I think that's right. Let's write them in. Why not? Okay, so now hopefully you can see, you can just count. The difference between -9 and -2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I mentioned to you whether you said -7 or 7. Both answers in this case are acceptable. It depends which way you count. Okay, but hopefully you can see there that the difference is 7. Right, we've got one more to go. One more to go. Again, I'm going to clear the board. Pause if you need to. But remember to draw a number line. It really helps you. Or a thermometer, you'll see negative numbers explained using a thermometer perhaps as well. The last question, we've got a yarn. Okay, this is part 2, question 5. He had a number. I don't know what that number was. He then multiplied it by 9. He then subtracted 436, and you got an answer of 68. Now, what most people will do, in fact, my own daughter, who's in year 4, she works backwards. So she will do this, okay? So this is, if you like, method 1, which is working backwards. So she, effectively what she's doing, she says working backwards, but she's doing the inverse operation. You're subtracting 436. She's going to start with 68 and she is going to add 436. Okay? What's that? James, help me out. What's that? 436 plus 68 gives me 4. Right, gives me, is that right? 504. Okay, and then remember, she is working backwards. She is doing the inverse operation. So now she's going to take her 504 and she is going to divide it by 9. She's going to divide it by 9. That's going to give her an answer of 68. She can now plug that answer back in and check that she's got the, sorry, she can, have I gone wrong? Sorry, 56, what am I doing? You plug that number back in and you should get 68. Okay, the second way that you can do it is using a little bit of algebra. Okay, using a little bit of algebra. So look at what we wrote here. Instead of just leaving that box, I'm going to call it X. So I've got 9 lots of X, subtract 436 equals 68. I'm going to now use my balancing method. I'm going to add 436 to both sides. That gives me 9x equals 504. Finally, I'm going to divide both sides by 9, and I'm going to get x equals 56. Okay, All good. Right, well, that took a long time and we have overrun, but it was really important to run back through those questions that you weren't able to do or you weren't able to see when I did the explanations on Friday. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that okay this time. It's time for you now and for your review questions. I'm just going to put those up on the board now. Okay, I'm going to leave you to pause on that, finish off writing those down and working through those, and you'll get the answers to those tomorrow. Thank you so much.